I aimlessly browsed the job listings on the computer screen in front of me, ignoring the endless opportunities to work in a call center, do administrative work for a company that would no doubt fire me without a second thought, or go from door to door explaining to people how some worthless product would change their life. I could feel my eyes begging for sleep as I loaded the 18th page of job listings. I was about to call it a night when a post caught my attention. Waiter needed for the Bannell restaurant. No previous experience required. Must be a quick thinker, have a keen eye for detail, and follow instructions without question. Hours are 8 PM to 1 AM Monday through Friday. Starting pay is $70 an hour with a guaranteed pay raise after 1 month. If interested, please email Randy Casterman at this address. Surely that was a mistake. No previous experience required, yet they're paying $70 an hour. Even if they had a list of 40 requirements, there is no chance anybody would be willing to pay $70 an hour for that position. Or maybe they were so desperate for a waiter that they were willing to pay this amount. I decided to send an email to the address stating that I was interested in the job. To be honest, I wasn't expecting a reply, but I figured that kind of money was too good to pass up. I turned off my computer and finally went to sleep. I was awoken the next morning by the sound of my phone ringing. Still half asleep, I picked up my phone from the nightstand beside my bed and answered it. "Hello?" I asked. "Is this Kenny Phillips?" the caller asked, answering a question with a question. Nice. "Yeah, it is. And who is this?" "It's Randy Casterman. You sent me an email last night about our job listing. Well, it wasn't really last night considering you sent it at 4 AM, but you know what I mean." "Oh, right, yeah, sorry. I lost track of time. My sleeping pattern is a bit messed up right now, you know. Anyway, what can I do for you?" I realized that talking like this to the person who was calling to let me know if they were interested in hiring me wasn't the best choice. I waited for him to say that they were no longer interested or just hang up on me. "Don't worry about it," he replied. "A person who sleeps during the day and has nothing to do at night is probably better suited for this job anyway, considering the hours. Anyway, I wanted to let you know that we'd like you to work for us. You could even start your first shift tonight if that suits you." Yeah, sure, I'll be able to start tonight. Are you sure you don't need to interview me or have me send you my CV or something like that?" "That won't be necessary. I can already tell you're the right person for the job. I'll text you the address of the restaurant. Try to get here about 10 minutes early if you can. There are a couple of details I need to discuss with you before your first shift." This was too good to be true. No interview, no CV, no comment about how I've been talking during this phone call. Either this Randy guy is pulling a prank on me, or they really do need a waiter as soon as possible. 10 minutes early. Got it, I replied. 2 more things actually. The job listing said you're paying $70 an hour. Was that a typo? Randy laughed before replying. Nope, this isn't exactly the easiest job in the world, so I want to make sure that our waiters are paid really well. I hesitated upon hearing that, deliberating whether I should tell him I've never worked in a restaurant before. That's fair enough, I suppose. But this whole waiter thing, I want to be honest. I've never worked as a waiter before. I assume it's basically a case of asking customers what they want to order, telling you their order, and then bringing them their food, which seems easy enough. But if that makes you want to change your mind about hiring me, then I understand. Randy chuckled. No experience required. There's a reason why I included that in the job listing. We've hired people with experience as a waiter before. It never turned out well. They thought they knew everything. They wanted to do things their way and wouldn't listen to anybody else. All that did was put the rest of us in jeopardy. Like I said, Kenny, you're the right person for this job. That's a relief. Thank you, Randy. I really appreciate this opportunity. Randy hesitated, then said, No problem, Kenny. I'll see you tonight. I arrived at the restaurant at 7:30. Randy hadn't mentioned anything about a uniform, so I went with black jeans and a black sweatshirt. In fact, Randy hadn't mentioned anything about the Bannell restaurant at all. The text he had sent me after the phone call only had an address, nothing else. I looked around, wondering if I was even at the right place. The restaurant was on the outskirts of the city, situated about 100 meters away from the one road going through the area, and surrounded by nothing but trees. Now that I think about it, I hadn't seen many people driving this way on my way here. I walked to the door of the restaurant, slightly underwhelmed by its exterior. It wasn't run down or anything like that, but it wasn't anything special. It looked more like a big grocery store than a restaurant. It didn't even have a sign up with the name of the place. Maybe this is why I was so surprised when I opened the door and walked in. It was slightly dark inside, but it was beautiful, and it was massive. There were at least 60 tables inside the restaurant, with paintings hung up on each wall and potted plants in every corner. I looked around, taking it all in when I heard someone call my name. I looked to the far left of the restaurant and saw someone standing in front of a door. "Kenny, it's good to see you," the man shouted while jogging towards me. That must be Randy. He was wearing a similar outfit to mine, black jeans with a black hoodie and a black baseball cap. He didn't exactly look like a chef, so I figured he must be the manager. Or maybe he was both. I don't know, I've never worked in a restaurant before. His hair stuck out from underneath the cap, and he was clean shaven. I don't know why, but I thought he would have a beard. What stuck out the most to me though was the sandbags under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, maybe even weeks. And the scar on his neck, I'd never seen a scar like it before. It was jagged, extending from just under his right ear to his Adam's apple. It must have happened recently, I could see the stitches on it. "You're earlier than I thought you'd be," he said, extending his arm for a handshake. I shook his hand and smiled. "I wanted to get used to the place before I started my shift, and you said there's something you have to talk to me about before I start." He nodded. "That's right. Walk with me and I'll explain some things to you. First of all, good outfit choice. I forgot to mention during our phone call that you should wear dark clothes, so I was really hoping you'd wear something like that. Anyway, we don't get many customers here. On a typical night we serve 20 or so customers at the most." "Well, that's less work for me at least," I laughed, but he shook his head. "Kenny, I haven't been completely honest. The reason why I pay my waiters so well is because this is a dangerous job. The customers we serve here, they're not exactly what you would call friendly. Most of our waiters don't last longer than 2 days working here. Sometimes they don't even finish the first shift." I stayed silent. I wasn't sure how to respond to that, and I had the feeling he wasn't finished yet. He pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket and handed it to me. "I need you to read this. It probably won't make much sense to you right now, but it is vital that you remember everything written on it during your shift." He paused, then said, "If you decide you still want this job, that is." I unfolded the piece of paper and started reading. "For the attention of all staff members of the Bannell restaurant, for your own safety, please work in accordance with the following guidelines. Number 1. Once you have entered the restaurant, do not leave until your shift has been completed and Randy Casterman has been notified. Number 2. Please do not touch any of the paintings on the wall. The one exception to this is if you see a painting falling from the wall. You will have 30 seconds to pick the painting up and place it back on the wall. If you do not manage to do this in under 30 seconds, hide under the nearest table. Remain there for a full minute before coming back out. Number 3. All of our customers order a steak and potatoes. If a customer orders any other dish, notify Randy Casterman immediately. Number 4. There are 4 potted plants in the restaurant. If you notice one missing, run to the staff room and lock the door behind you. Do not open the door for any reason. You may emerge from the staff room when the light in the room turns off, then turns back on again. Number 5. Stephen does not work here. Do not answer any of his questions. Do not tell him anything about yourself. Bannell Restaurant is not responsible for what will happen if you tell him your name. Number 6. The food critic visits us from time to time. Regardless of what they say to you, always respond with, "I will let our chef know, thank you." Do not under any circumstances insult them, question their opinion, or argue with them. Number 7. Do not enter any of the bathrooms in the dining area. You are only permitted to use the bathroom in the staff area. Number 8. Only one waiter is scheduled to work in the restaurant at any given time. If you see another waiter taking orders or carrying plates of food, ask them to leave the restaurant. They usually do so immediately. If they do not, then tell them sternly that they must leave. Number 9. The old man may ask for the time. There is a clock on the wall at the back of the restaurant. Tell him this time and only this time. Note: please notify Randy Casterman if you break any of these rules. I looked up from the piece of paper, struggling to come to terms with what I had just read. "What is this?" I asked. Randy sighed. "When I started working here as a waiter, the manager at the time gave me that same piece of paper. I said before that this is a dangerous job, but I followed all of those guidelines and I'm still here." He paused and gave me a sad smile. I was even appointed as the new manager because of how well I followed them. Who knows, if you followed them too, then you could end up in my position someday, unless you've changed your mind about working here. It wasn't a question. I could tell he was expecting me to leave right now, and I should. I didn't know if he was being serious with that piece of paper, but it freaked me out regardless. But in my mind, the money I would be paid was worth the potential danger of working here. I checked my watch, then looked at Randy. It's almost 8 o'clock. I'll start getting the tables ready for the customers, I said. Randy smiled and clapped me on the back. Attaboy, I'll be in the kitchen if you need me, he said, and walked towards the door he had come out of when I first entered the restaurant. I was 20 minutes into my shift when the first customers walked into the restaurant. An older couple, probably in their 60s. I approached them, slightly nervous, and said hello. They smiled at me, but didn't say anything. I assumed that they were waiting for me to say something. Follow me and I'll show you to your table, I said to them. You're very kind, thank you so much. I'm Sarah, by the way. This is my husband Harvey, the woman replied. I walked slightly ahead of them towards a table in the center of the restaurant. I haven't seen that waiter here before. He must be new here, I heard Harvey say. They sat at the table and stared at me, once again waiting for me to say something. Do you two need a menu? I asked. Harvey laughed. Why would we need a menu? You already know what we're going to order. I frowned. I'm sorry, but this is my first shift here. I don't know what you usually order, I started to say, when I remembered the guidelines Randy had given me. Oh, of course, the steak and potatoes. I'll let our chef know. Sarah smiled while Harvey gave me a thumbs up. Can I get you anything to drink? I asked. Their expressions changed immediately. They looked annoyed, no, downright furious after hearing what I had just said. Harvey started to get out of his seat when Sarah put a hand on his shoulder. It's his first day here. Give him another chance, she said to her husband. Harvey stared at me with pure anger in his eyes. I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again. I'm sorry, I said, my voice shaking as I spoke. He stared at me for a few more seconds before nodding and sitting back down. I quickly made my way up to the kitchen. The door was open, so I walked inside and saw Randy sitting on a stool in front of an oven. The kitchen was a lot smaller than the dining area, but Randy did say the restaurant didn't get many customers, so I guess that makes sense. Randy looked up and smiled when he saw me. Kenny, he said, getting up off the stool. How's your first shift going? It's going well, I think. We have 2 customers already. Both of them asked for the steak and potatoes. He seemed relieved. Alright, sounds good. I'll have them ready in about 5 minutes. He must have noticed that I looked slightly shaken. Kenny, what happened? He asked. I considered lying to him. I didn't want to risk being fired on my first shift for one mistake, but the serious look on his face made me reconsider. Well, I asked them if they wanted anything to drink and they didn't seem happy. The man, Harvey I think his name was, probably would have hit me if his wife hadn't stopped him. Randy thought for a moment, then spoke. It's my fault. Our customers don't like to be offered a drink. I was supposed to add that to the list of guidelines, but I completely forgot about it. You're lucky you said it to Harvey and Sarah. Sarah is a lot more understanding than our other customers. If it had been any other customer... He sighed and shook his head. You're doing well though, Kenny. Keep it up. I thanked him, feeling relieved that I hadn't lost my job because of that mistake. I stayed in the kitchen while he cooked the 2 meals, listening as he explained how Sarah had made a habit of calming her husband down when new waiters made a mistake. He plated the food and handed it to me. It probably goes without saying, but please don't ask them if they want dessert when they're finished their food, he said with a grin. I chuckled and left the kitchen, bringing the food to Harvey and Sarah's table. Here we are, I said, setting the place down in front of the couple. Let me know if there's anything else I can help you with. They smiled at me. They're very fond of smiling. We're fine for now, Sarah said, then pointed at the wall behind me. But you should think about hiding under her table in about 10 seconds. I looked in the direction she was pointing. I was confused. She was pointing at a blank spot on the wall. Then I saw it. Under the spot she was pointing at was a painting on the floor. The lights flickered, then turned off. Son, get under her table, right now, Harvey said sternly. I did exactly as he asked, diving to the floor and crawling underneath the table. I held my breath as I heard the door to the restaurant open. It was silent, save for the sound of Harvey and Sarah eating their food. Then I heard it. Footsteps. The table I was under was in the center of the restaurant, about 100 feet away from the entrance. I listened as whoever had entered walked to the right of the restaurant, then stopped before turning around and walking to the left. They paused again for a moment before walking in my direction. 47, 48, 49, I counted in my head. I listened as the sound of footsteps got closer to the table I was under. Harvey and Sarah had not stopped eating the entire time. 56, 57, I heard a panting noise coming from the table in front of me as the sound of the footsteps got closer and closer to the table I was under. The lights flickered again, then turned on. I sighed and waited a moment before getting out from under the table. Harvey and Sarah had finished their meal. "Thank you," I said to them. "This was a one-time courtesy," Harvey said. "You should pay more attention to what goes on in here. We won't help you follow the guidelines again." The couple got out of their seat, thanked me for their meal, and walked to the door. I felt my body shake as the reality of what had just happened set in. How did the couple know about the guidelines? Who turned off the lights? And who on earth had been walking around the restaurant? I turned to walk to the kitchen when I noticed Randy standing behind me. "I assume you have a few questions about what just happened?" he asked. "Did you turn off the lights? Who came into the restaurant? How do Harvey and Sarah know about the guidelines you showed me? Do they work here?" Kenny laughed half-heartedly. "One at a time, Chief. No, I didn't turn off the lights. The restaurant does that itself when a painting has been on the floor for longer than 30 seconds. Speaking of which, take a look at where you saw the painting." I looked over at the floor where the painting had been. It wasn't there. Where did it... I looked up and saw it had been placed back on the wall. "How did you put it back up so quickly?" I asked. Randy laughed again. "I'm a manager, not a magician. The restaurant put it back up." I stared at him. "The restaurant? You're telling me this building turned off the lights, then turned them back on, and hung the painting up?" "It's easier if you don't question it. Trust me on this one. As for Harvey and Sarah, no, they don't work here, but they know all about the guidelines I gave you. All of our customers know about them." He paused for a moment. It looked like he was trying to figure out how much he should tell me. "Our customers, they're the reason those guidelines were written in the first place. When we follow those guidelines, our customers are happy, and more importantly, we're safe. And if we don't follow those guidelines, I told you that most of our waiters don't last longer than 2 days here. The thing is, almost all of them don't quit. They disappear." "What do you mean they disappear?" "Most of them accidentally break one of the guidelines. Some break a guideline on purpose. I suppose they think the guidelines are some sort of joke, that I gave them the paper to freak them out. Regardless, when they break a guideline, they are never seen again." He looked more serious than I'd seen anyone look before. "I know what you're about to ask. What would have happened if you hadn't hidden under a table? Or if Sarah and Harvey didn't let you off the hook when you asked if they wanted a drink?" "I would have disappeared, right?" I whispered. Randy nodded. "I don't know exactly what the thing that walked into the restaurant when the lights went out is. I don't know what Harvey and Sarah or any of our customers are. What I do know is that they're not human. And this restaurant, the Bannell, it shouldn't be here. It doesn't show up on any map. The only people who know it exists, the only people who can even see it, are the staff and its customers. And right now, the only people who work here are me and you. That's the way it's always been. One manager, one waiter." I thought about the job listing, about how they needed a waiter. The post you made about hiring a new waiter, what happened to the old one? I already knew the answer, but I needed Randy to say it. I needed to know how dangerous this job really is. His answer surprised me. He smiled weakly. "You're looking at him." "But you said it's just me and you working here. One waiter, one manager. If you're the old waiter, then where's the manager?" For the first time tonight, a look of complete sadness washed over Randy's face. He told Stephen his name. The door to the restaurant opened. I glanced over and saw a customer walking in. They looked around and waved when they noticed me and Randy. "Lunch break is over. Back to work, Chief." The rest of the night was fairly uneventful. I had seriously considered quitting after my last conversation with Randy, but I recalled the guidelines stating that you cannot leave the restaurant once you began your shift. So I was stuck here, for the rest of the night at least. 8 more customers came into the restaurant during the remainder of my shift. Thankfully, none of them deviated from the steak and potatoes meal when ordering. A painting fell off the wall behind me while I was serving the last customer, a young man. He looked to be in his 20s. He glanced at the painting on the floor, then back at me, and I could see his eyes were full of gleeful anticipation. I quickly picked the painting off the floor and hung it back on the wall. The young man looked disappointed, but chuckled and said, "Someday. Someday you won't be quick enough. I hope I'm here when that happens." I checked my watch as the young man left the restaurant, giving me a nod as he did so. 12:59 a.m. I let out a sigh of relief and made my way back up to the kitchen. Randy was washing dishes when I walked in. He glanced up, noticing me walking through the door. "You're still alive. That's good." He handed me an envelope. "Your wages for tonight. $420 for the 5 hours, plus an extra $80. Think of it as an apology for the whole kerfuffle with Sarah and Harvey." He rubbed the back of his neck as he watched me open the envelope. "It's a lot of money for 5 hours work, I know, but I hope you realize now how dangerous this job is. At some point you're going to make a mistake. I know I did when I was in your position. I'll try to help you when you do. Maybe you'll get lucky and Sarah will be around when it happens, but there's no guarantee you're going to make it through every shift. What I'm trying to get at here is that I wouldn't blame you if you decided not to come back after tonight." It was tempting to quit, very tempting, but I made it through tonight without much hassle, and I still had the list of guidelines, so as long as I followed them I should be fine, right? And the money, I had counted it 3 times while Randy had been talking. $500. It wasn't a case of me not trusting him to pay me the full amount. It was more so because I couldn't believe how much money I was holding in my hand. If I quit, then yeah, I would be safe. But I wouldn't receive this type of payment anymore. And without this money, well, I needed this money. "I'd like to stay. I can handle myself. I'll follow the guidelines, I'll be careful around customers, and I'll let you know straight away if anything goes wrong." Randy clapped me on the back for the 2nd time that night. Normally that type of thing would annoy me, but it felt good to be appreciated, especially with a job like this. It felt good knowing I had Randy's respect, considering I might need his help in the future. "I knew I made the right choice hiring you. I'll lock the place up. You should head home and get something to eat. Take it easy for the rest of the day. I'll see you at 8 o'clock again tonight, Chief." Hello? I'd been meaning to make this phone call for the last month, but I could never bring myself to do it. I wanted to make sure I had good news when I called. Before I started working at the Bannell, I was never in a position to do that. But after finishing my first week in the restaurant, I had over $1,500 sitting on the desk beside me. That was good news, at least in this situation. "Is anyone there?" I composed myself, clearing my throat before speaking. "Hi, Mom." There was a pause. "Kenny, is that you?" I could tell she was shocked to hear my voice. I don't blame her. I hadn't talked to her at all during the last 3 months. I told myself it was because I'm busy. I need to spend my time working on making music, playing video games, watching movies. I knew deep down that was a lie. The truth is, I was ashamed. I wanted to help her, to pull off some miracle and make her problems disappear. I wasn't able to do that before, but now I can. "It's me, Mom. How are you feeling?" I hated small talk. I've always thought it was a waste of time, but as much as I had tried to mentally prepare myself for this, hearing her voice brought that deep feeling of shame to the surface. "Don't worry about me, sweetheart. I want to hear about you. It's been so long since I've heard from you. I was worried something bad happened to you." I felt myself getting choked up just listening to her. After all this time, after everything she had to go through, she still wanted to make sure I was doing well. "I'm fine, Mom. Things have been going well. I got myself a job. I work as a waiter now." I could sense her smile through the phone. "Well, that's wonderful, son. I'm proud of you. I hope you're being nice to all the customers. That attitude of yours can get you in trouble sometimes." If only she knew. That same attitude almost cost me my life during my 3rd shift. I was talking to Randy in the kitchen when a customer shouted, "Waiter," from his table in the dining area. I ran to his table, expecting him to tell me that he had finished his meal, only for him to say, "The steak is undercooked." "I'm sorry, sir, but I can assure you that isn't true." He slammed his fist down on the table. "The steak is undercooked. These potatoes are stone cold, and you didn't even give me a napkin. What kind of restaurant is this?" I hate being yelled at. I especially hate being yelled at by some idiot wearing a top hat and a tuxedo, and that monocle, that stupid monocle. "Listen to me, I don't know who you think you are," I started to say, when I was interrupted by Randy calling my name. I looked over at him and saw he was holding up 6 fingers. I frowned. What was that supposed to mean? 6 customers left, 6 minutes before closing. I froze. Guideline 6. The food critic. I looked back at the food critic. He was tilting his head, eagerly awaiting my next response. Waiting for a reason to make me disappear, as Randy had put it. I forced a smile. I will let our chef know, thank you. He held the plate out to me, inviting me to take it from him. Thank you, sir. I expect my meal to be perfect the next time I visit this restaurant. Don't worry, Mom. The customers there love me. Randy, Mr. Casterman, the manager, said I'm doing really well. Well, of course you are. I've always said you could do anything if you were motivated enough. I'm glad things are going well for you. I picked up the wad of money from my desk and held it close, deliberating how I should approach the next topic. Mom, I know your treatment isn't cheap. I want to... Kenny, stop right there. I don't want you to feel like you have to give me money towards it. It's fine. I found a lot of old things I can sell. I'll be able to afford it, don't worry. Mom, I want to help. Really, I do. The job pays really well, and there isn't anything I want to buy right now. I would rather give you the money than waste it on something I'll never use. Are you sure? Absolutely. Give me another week, and I'll have enough money to pay for your treatment for the next month or so. Thank you, Kenny. Come pay me a visit sometime, alright, honey? I'll make burgers for us. They used to be your favorite. I'm sure they're not as good as the ones they serve in your restaurant, but hopefully you still like them. I laughed. They're definitely much better than the ones we serve in our restaurant, Mom. Although that isn't really saying much considering the only thing we serve is steak and potatoes. But I'll visit soon. I promise. I checked my watch. 7:20 p.m. Listen, I have to go. I start work at 8. It was nice talking to you again. I heard her sigh. It was. Don't work too hard. I love you. I love you. See you soon. I arrived at the restaurant 10 minutes early. Randy was standing outside the front door, eating a sandwich. He smiled when he saw me and held the sandwich out. You want a bite? It's chicken and bacon with sweet chili sauce. I'm good, thanks. I had a nice steak earlier today. Randy chuckled and took a bite from his sandwich. I know I've only been here for a week, but man, it feels like I've spent an entire year in this place. The Bannell has that effect on people. You've done really well though. I messed up more during my first week than you did. It was the nerves that got to me, made me slip up and make small mistakes. He finished his sandwich, staring off into the distance. Nerves are good in this place though. They keep you on your toes. It's when you get complacent, when you start getting arrogant, when you start believing you've been there too long to make a mistake. That's when the restaurant catches you off guard. That's when you slip up and stop paying attention. Everything goes wrong and someone you care about gets hurt because of you. He was talking about himself. He had to be. Randy? What happened? He shook his head. It was my fault. I messed up. I messed up big time and Conroy isn't there anymore. Because of me. Who is Conroy? What happened to him? Conroy was the old manager, before me. He hired me as a waiter. He taught me everything I know. He was a good friend too. A reliable friend. So it was Conroy that Stephen tricked. Conroy told Stephen his name, and that's why you had to take over. That's why you hired me. Stephen didn't trick Conroy. Randy exhaled, and I could tell he was on the verge of tears. Stephen tricked me. I told Stephen my name. Before I could say anything, Randy walked into the restaurant. I followed him inside and was greeted by an old man. That's strange. I hadn't seen anybody walk past us to get into the restaurant, and Randy would have mentioned him if he had been in the restaurant before I came along. The old man approached us, looking slightly confused. Gentlemen, I apologize if I'm early. I left my watch at home. Do either of you have the time by any chance? I checked my watch. 8:01 p.m. It's 5:20 in the morning, Randy said sternly. I looked at Randy, wondering why he had lied to the man. The old man thanked Randy, then left the restaurant. They're starting early tonight, he said to himself. I was confused until I remembered guideline 9. The old man may ask for the time. There is a clock on the wall at the back of the restaurant. Tell him this time, and only this time. Randy turned to face me. Be careful tonight. It's never good news when this happens. If anything goes wrong, come straight to me. Sure enough, Randy was right. I had gone to use the bathroom in the staff area before any customers walked in. I was only in there for 2 or 3 minutes at the most, but when I walked out, I saw a woman wearing black jeans and a black hoodie talking to 3 customers at a table. She was writing something in her notepad. I instantly remembered the guidelines stating that only one waiter is scheduled to work in the restaurant at any given time. I jogged to the table as she was asking the second customer what they wanted to order. "Excuse me," the woman turned to face me. "Please leave the restaurant." She stared at me blankly before pocketing the notepad and walking towards the front door. I was relieved. After what Randy said, I was expecting her to refuse, and who knows how that might have turned out. I turned to face the customers, who looked completely unbothered by what had just happened. "What can I get for you tonight?" "I'll have the steak and potatoes." "Good choice, a classic," I said. I was getting more comfortable taking orders. Some of the customers even joked with me from time to time. "Number 2, what are you having tonight, boss?" "I'll have the steak and potatoes too. Big surprise, I know." I smiled and looked at the last customer at the table. "And yourself?" "The steak and potatoes, I assume?" He leaned forward, his eyes lit up, a grin forming on his mouth. "No." My breath caught in my throat. "I'm feeling adventurous tonight. I'll have the chicken wings and fries." I took a moment to compose myself. "Excuse me, I'll be back in a minute." I made a beeline for the kitchen. Randy stood up when he saw me, seeing the panic on my face. "Someone just asked for chicken wings." Randy swore and ran out of the kitchen, heading straight towards the table of customers. "Gentlemen, I'm afraid I must ask you all to leave. You are no longer welcome here." The first 2 customers simply nodded and made their way to the entrance. The third customer remained in his seat. "Sir, I would appreciate it if you left our restaurant." The customer grinned. "But I haven't received my meal yet. I'm very hungry." Randy rubbed the back of his neck. "I understand that, sir, but you need to leave. The last thing we want is for you to make our other customers feel uncomfortable." The customer looked around the empty restaurant. "What customers?" he asked, still grinning. "This isn't working," I whispered to Randy. "Sir, you need to leave right now. I will not repeat myself again." The customer stood up from his seat and approached Randy. "Is this how you treat all of your customers?" "You are no longer considered a customer. You have 10 seconds to leave before you are treated as a danger to this restaurant and its staff." Did Randy just threaten to fight this man? Well, he wasn't exactly a man. Randy said these customers aren't human. I began to wonder how a fight between Randy and this thing would unfold when the customer shook his head and walked away. "That was pretty cool," I said before I could stop myself. Randy chuckled at this. "You know, I was terrified the first time I had to do that. It gets easier with time, thankfully." "Did any of them refuse to leave?" "Only one. That's how I got this scar," he pointed at his neck. "I was the only person here, so I had to stitch it back up myself. It happened after Conroy left, but before I hired you. I was pulling double duty for 3 days. The customers didn't like that though. They said it was unprofessional for me not to have a waiter. "This isn't how it works," they said to me. I knew what they meant. That was the same night I posted that job listing, the one you applied for. "You stitched it back up yourself?" Conroy had a fight with a customer once. A nasty piece of work. It messed him up pretty badly. Conroy was smart though. He kept the staff area stocked with medical supplies. He must have raided a hospital or something with the amount of stuff he had in there. I had to stitch his arm back up, disinfect it, the whole 9 yards. He talked me through it, made sure I did it perfectly. If he hadn't taught me how to do that, I don't know what would have happened to me. It has been over 2 months since I was hired as a waiter at the Bannell restaurant. You would think working in a place like this would have made my life worse, but that wasn't the case. I had visited my mother 3 times since my phone call with her. She was doing well. At least she was doing better than before now that she had money to pay for her treatment. We talked a lot about my new job, her newfound interest in gardening, and my plans for the future. Truth be told, I have no idea what I want to do in the future. I had planned on working for a month, then quitting after I had made enough money to support my mom. But Randy is like an older brother to me now. I don't want to leave him by himself in the restaurant, and I'm actually starting to enjoy my job. I'm not as nervous as I had been before. I'm more confident, more alert, and more determined to make sure I don't make any mistakes. Maybe the Bannell is my future, helping Randy to protect this town, maybe even the entire world from the restaurant's customers. I whistle a tune I had heard Randy whistle the previous week as I make my way to the kitchen. I'm just going to the bathroom. Give me a text if any customer comes in while I'm in there. Randy gives me a wave. Don't worry about it, Chief. I'll take care of it. He must be in a good mood. He had given me a black baseball cap when I walked in for my shift tonight. It's not much, but think of it as a thank you for working with me all this time, he had said with a smile. I approach the bathroom near the door to the restaurant. As I get closer, I can hear what sounds like whispering coming from inside the bathroom. That's strange, I think to myself. Nobody had come into the restaurant during the last hour or so. I press my ear up against the door, trying to figure out what the whispering was. Help me. Please, there's a fire in here and the door is locked. I can't get out. Please, someone help me. That voice. I recognize it from somewhere. It sounds so familiar. Please, there isn't much time. You have to get this door open. I can't breathe in here. Please, someone help. Mom, I whispered. Mom, is that you? Please open the door. I twist the doorknob, my hand shaking, and enter the bathroom. It's completely engulfed in flames. The stall doors are burnt to a crisp. The walls look like they are melting. A woman stands in front of me, her back turned to me. Even without seeing her face, I can tell she is my mom. Mom, how did you get in here? She turns around, slowly, staring at me with a look of genuine fear in her eyes. Who are you? She whispers. I approach her slowly. It's me, your son, Kenny. I reach out to hug her when I hear a voice behind me. Get away from her. Right now. I turn around and see Randy standing at the entrance to the bathroom. He looks terrified, as if he's seen a ghost. But my mom, that's my mom. She was trapped in here. I had to save her. What else was I supposed to do? We have to get her to a hospital. She didn't even remember my name. Randy's eyes widened. Did you tell her your name? I frown. Of course I did. She was panicking and didn't recognize me, and she's my mom. What else was I supposed to do? That isn't your mom. I hear a laugh from behind me. Not my mom's laugh. I want to say it sounds like a man, but it doesn't. It doesn't even sound human. I turn around and watch as my mom melts away, being replaced by a tall figure. His eyes are covered by sunglasses. His hair is the same colour as the smoke that had engulfed the room. His outfit is similar to mine and Randy's. Black jeans and a black t-shirt. Kenny, go to the kitchen and stay there until I tell you to come out. Stephen and I are going to have a talk. Kenny, it's time. I open the door and step into the dining area. Randy smiles at me when he sees me, but I can tell it's a sad smile. He doesn't have good news. Stephen looks at Randy, nodding his head in the direction of the bathroom I had found Stephen in. I followed him down to the bathroom. Randy and I stay silent while we're walking. Stephen, on the other hand, can't seem to close his mouth. Oh, this is so much fun. Look at us, 3 guys being dudes. This is my favourite part. I've been waiting almost 3 months for this. You two are awfully quiet. Come on, give me something to work with. Something funny, something clever. I feel like I'm talking to myself here. The sheer joy in his voice sends chills down my spine. He has us right where he wants us, and he knows it. We reach the bathroom, and Stephen claps his hands. Can you feel that? This is the climax. This is what it's all about. It's time for you to say goodbye. Randy glares at Stephen. I wait for Randy to punch him, kick him, toss him into the bathroom and shut the door. I wait for Randy to tell me everything is going to be fine, that he knows how to get out of this mess. None of that happens. I'm sorry, Kenny. I tried. I really, really tried, but there's nothing I can do. Oh, this is even better than I thought it would be, Stephen exclaims, laughing as I stare at Randy. Randy ignores him and puts a hand on my shoulder. My laptop is in the kitchen. Take it home with you tonight. You'll know what to do with it. What do you mean, take it home with me tonight? I told Stephen my name. I won't be here anymore. I'm done. Stephen won't be taking you. I made a deal with him. In exchange. My eyes widen as I realize what he means by this. But I messed up. I told him my name. I caused this. This is all my fault. There are tears flowing down my face, but I don't care. Why did you do that, Randy? Randy has tears in his eyes, but still manages to give me a smile. It's what Conroy did for me. Stephen opens the door to the bathroom and walks inside, gesturing for Randy to follow him. It's been a pleasure working with you, Chief. The door closes behind them. I stand there, motionless, still trying to take in what had just happened. I open the door to the bathroom and look inside. It's empty. No trace of Randy or Stephen. As I make my way back to the kitchen, a single thought runs through my mind. I need to hire a waiter.